A lot of the things like wildflowers, and we have some marvelous wildflowers, and some of the little things, it's hard to get those, you know. It's hard to get sedges and reeds and Spartina grasses. And
Who compiled this list? Because this is really comprehensive. I mean, it's...
I did that mostly.
Wow,
you know,
that's great.
I've been keeping a long inventory of East Hampton native species, and every once in a while we find one that we didn't know about, you know.
When you go from the Montauk grasslands and the savanna shrublands to brackish wetlands and buffers, so I mean, anyone that lives in any part of the town,
Pretty much cover all the habitats.
they can
right.
say, oh, well, I have a little bit of a swampy area, I can plant this or that, and you know, it's good for the environment.
Yeah, it is, because say the salamanders and the frogs and I mentioned the chipmunks and all the birds that are native. They grew up with these plants, and they somewhat depend upon them. And just like when your neighbor, when somebody comes in and cuts down all the trees next to your house, it's the same. The birds suffer terrifically, you know.
All their homes are
They're
gone.
used to it. They have that in their little brains, you know. Yeah, so there's a big challenge right now.
Another thing with native species, I think that, you know, fertilizer is a great problem today, chemical fertilizing. It actually eventually just degrades the soil, and people start off with, you know, say 10 pounds of fertilizer, then in 2 years they need 20 pounds, and then, you know, in 5 years 50 pounds isn't doing it. And, you know, these chemicals can become toxic, and, you know, then
Go into the groundwater.
into the groundwater and into the seas, where they cause eutrophic, you know, the algae blooms cause eutrophic conditions, and, you know, everything dies. And, you know, a lot of these are land-based that we're doing. You know, we might, some people don't know that, you know, they put a lot of fertilizer on their lawn, goes into the bays, and it causes these algae blooms that all the scientists are, you know, really trying to get a hold on. So if we could encourage people, you know, the native species is a great start, and don't fertilize them with the chemical fertilizers, but go for the organic stuff that, you know, it's the same nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Is that the three? It's the same chemicals, but they're naturally derived, and they enhance the soil.
And you know that we don't fertilize our forest, like the Northwest forest with the white pines, the marvelous white pines, some of which are 100 feet. How do they do it? Well, there's some stuff floating around the atmosphere that fertilizes them, but if they can make it, native plants can make it with very little fertilization.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, better for everything, right?
Put a little compost in the soil and add that, you know, micronutrients, and do it that way. And the town of East Hampton has a terrific composting program
at the up
the
on
recycling
Springs
center.
Fireplace Road.
And it's free. It's free. They don't have to pay for it.
Wonderful. Yeah. No, I think you put your finger right on it. That you know, Will used to be fish. We used to the Indians put us,
right?
Bunkers.
Who did it?
So it's a real big challenge. For a lot of people, it's boring. You know, they used to.
How could that be boring?
Well, I don't know. They used to kind of the high life, you know, the disco era and so forth. But actually, I think that whole attitude is changing, especially in East Hampton. I think East Hampton is pretty amazing in that respect. Some people have never lost the respect for the old ways and the old habitats and the old lifestyle and that kind of thing.
It worked. I mean, you know, with the Green Revolution, with the fertilizer, the old Green Revolution, where it was fertilize, you know, that did a good bump for, you know, a few years. But after that, it just, you know, the soil became depleted, and, you know, it's poison.
So now we're playing catch up, and it's going to be a great struggle to actually catch up. It's not going to be an easy, it's going to be a long-term kind of thing, but
it's a commitment.
Commitment, you're right.
So, and you're the leading the way for the town of East Hampton.
I'm trying to help. Right.
That's great.
But I think we depend upon the young people coming up.
Sure, absolutely. That's why the education, you know, all comes in.
Right. East Hampton High School, for example, they're way into that stuff, and
Well, I mean, the community that we live in is so beautiful. Like, how can you ignore it, taking care of it?
It is exquisite, really, when you think about it. I lived in California, in Santa Barbara, San Francisco, Monterey. I lived in Oregon, but East Hampton, South Fork, and east of Long Island is still pretty right up there, ranking right up there with. Yeah.
Absolutely. Rachel, do you have a time frame of when you guys are going to really start breaking ground and getting these plants in their new home?
Well, first we have to decide exactly what our plan is going to be. We would like to hopefully have everything in the ground before things start breaking bud in the spring.
Okay.
So keep our fingers crossed.
Good.
But we plan to go around to all the local nurseries and ask for donations and go along and collect seed and perhaps sprout it this winter if we can. And we'll use some of that. And if all else fails, we'll put some seed in the ground.
There you go. Just the way nature used to disperse, just throw it around a little bit.
We'll irrigate it for the first summer to make sure it lives.
Good.
And then it's on its own, and it should do it.
Are you going to have any kind of little signage to so people could know that this, certain types of plants are, in certain areas, so they can look at it and go, oh, I might like that in my yard, maybe, if they have some information on the plants?
I think so. The real big things like beach plum, when it's a mature plant, it's such a big, graceful plant, and the fruit's actually edible. People, for a while, were trying to cultivate it over in England to make it a big commodity, but between one thing and another, it didn't work out. But, we would like to really promote these things. Another plant, baccharis. It's a big, tall salt bush.
What is it called?
Baccharis.
Baccharis.
It's got these wonderful blossoms in the autumn. Big, tall, wispy things.
Wow.
So it would be really wonderful if we could just see these plants, which you see in the dunes, and you go, oh, that's kind of attractive.
Sure.
Put it in your yard.
Yeah, so it's a challenge because you like to cover all the blooming season, things that start blooming in March even, right? And some of those are on the dunes, and all the way into November with the asters and so forth, and the different colors that, like that picture on the front of the book with the aster, not the aster, but the golden heather there, the beach heather.
Right.
So you try to work in different colors and textures, and the great lichens down there, the gray, the reindeer lichens, and it's a great challenge, to make it both natural, pretty,
And
historic.
sustainable.
And sustainable, yeah. Great challenge. They're going to have a tough job.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're going to do a terrific job.
We hope so.
Now, with the biology major involved in the native species, and that's a great diversity of.
Well, botany was always my first love. I grew
Wow.
up running around the woods. I've been helping my dad out since I could walk, basically.
Nice.
So I really like it. I hope to do something with it, really help return things back to how the way they were a little bit.
That's terrific. Good job.
Every time I go to Nassau County or something, I say,
Oh.
oh,
yeah.
I'm so happy I'm
Yeah,
out here.
it's beautiful. I mean, we really do live, and even children, young people, they notice it when they go out of our town. I know that they notice it. You can't help but notice how pretty it is here. We're running out of time. That went really fast.
Been delightful.
Thank you so much.